So now we have a taste of today's sambal satay. It's spicy, creamy, salty, savory. I'm Krisada and I am currently a Year 2 uni student, and I also run all things Peranakan on Instagram. So today I'll be cooking sambal satay, which I don't think you can find in restaurants out there. It was actually the first rempah-based dish that I started eating after my grandmother cooked it. So I grew to like it a lot and I learned how to cook it eventually. I feel that this dish is very Peranakan because firstly, it's very homely and many Peranakans that I know find this dish very familiar. So today I'll be showing you how to cook sambal satay, and my grandmother used to prepare it for us. So it uses a spice paste known as rempah titek, which is made of candle nuts, shallots, chili, and belacan. We'll be preparing the spice paste now. So first you need to peel your shallots. This dish is sort of invented by the Peranakans, so you don't really get to see this dish outside, and in fact many other families also cook this sambal satay, and some of them also add coriander powder into their sambal satay. So actually I'm a mix of Hokkien Peranakan. My mom is Hokkien Peranakan and my dad is a mix of Hokkien Peranakan and Thai Chinese as well. Next we need to cut the chilies. So for the chilies you can choose to keep the seeds in or you can get the seeds out. I prefer to keep them in for a bit more bite. Here I'll be using about 4 to 5 chilies. For the lime leaves, we will be tearing it out from the vein so that it will release more fragrance instead of using a knife or scissors to cut out the leaves, because it will seal the edges so the leaves won't release as much fragrance into the gravy. And my grandmother would always say, you know your rempah is ready when you start to sneeze. Okay, so now we'll be blending the rempah. We put in the candle nuts, shallots, chili, and belacan. So if your rempah gets stuck sometimes, you can add some oil, or you can add some water, or you can just give it a shake. We will be using boneless chicken thigh, and chicken thigh has a bit of fat, so it won't be too dry like chicken breast. You can actually use any type of meat. Usually we use chicken breast because there are no bones and it's good for children to eat. So actually I started All Things Peranakan in 2015. It was because I realized that I had a lot of classmates and they would say, oh, I'm actually part Peranakan, and so I asked them about their practices and what their family would do during certain celebrations or festivals. But I realized that they were unable to give me an answer. Some of them didn't even know that these festivals were observed by the Peranakans. So I thought that it would be nice if I document them and share with classmates. Over the years, there have been some claims about how Peranakan food is just throwing pork into Malay dishes, but I don't agree with that because you have uniquely Peranakan dishes such as wakalok. So now I'll be adding in some corn flour to tenderize the chicken thigh. Leave it to sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. It's very nice to receive messages from people who live in Australia or in Japan. They are actually Peranakan after they grew up when nobody carried on with these practices. So when they see what I post and what I do, right, so they feel that it's very familiar and they start to share about what they remember about these practices. Usually for a portion of sambal satay like this, you can use like 1 or 2 pieces of lemongrass. So what we will usually do is that we will also snip off the base because like that's the root. You get the lesong, then you just... so you can smell the fragrance of the lemongrass. Many people think that the Peranakan culture is very rigid, it's dying culture. It will only die if you don't change. Today we'll be using olive oil. You can actually use any oil you want, but my grandmother liked to use olive oil because she said it's a healthy oil. So when you tumis rempah, right, you need to add enough oil so that your rempah will cook better. Then we will add in the lemongrass. So you see that the lemongrass starts to bubble, so that's when you know it's hot enough, and slowly it will heat up and release the fragrance of the lemongrass. You can leave it or you can start stirring it around the oil. So it tends to splatter a bit sometimes because of the moisture in the lemongrass. And you can add in your daun limau purut. So now we'll be adding in the rempah titik that we prepared earlier on. So now when you mix the rempah, you need to keep stirring it so that it won't stick and burn. So what my grandma would do for the blender, right, she will actually add some water in it so that you don't waste any bit of the precious rempah, and she will add it into the pot. The use of the rempah titek, which is a very uniquely Peranakan dish, and it highlights the Malay influence on Peranakan cooking, because in Chinese cooking you don't actually see the use of rempah and the ingredients like buah keras or belacan especially, and you don't get belacan in China as well. So it's a very local Southeast Asian ingredient. So my grandma will also say you fry the meat until it's garing. So garing meaning crispy. So the surface can be a bit burnt, and then later you add in water to simmer, and later on when it's almost done, you can add in some coconut milk to stir. Here you can add in some more daun limau purut when you're simmering the chicken. So now I'll be adding in the coconut milk. In Singapore, you have access to so much more types of cuisine, appreciate and understand other cultures better. Like you can go to the hawker center and you can get like Indian food even though you're not Indian, and you don't need to know how to cook Indian food to enjoy it at home. Whereas in other countries, it's quite hard, I feel. You only get like one type of cuisine. Okay, so now that the sambal satay is ready, we'll serve it with rice. So now we have a taste of today's sambal satay. It's spicy, creamy, salty, savory, but not overly salty because of the addition of sugar. And of course, you get the flavors of the rempah titek as well as the daun limau purut and serai. With this, I hope that everyone could start experimenting with different dishes and perhaps try cooking this sambal satay at home someday. For you to be able to change and evolve over time, right, you actually need to understand the true significance behind all these customs, then you can adapt it to modern times.